When I met my husband, I finished my second degree and was on my master's. He wanted us to have our children quickly, and within 6 years, I had 3 children back to back. I eventually stayed home most times, and little did I know he wanted it that way. He wanted me to be a stay-at-home wife and use childbirth as the yardstick. I grew lazy and didn't have the zeal to go back to work as I was stressed handling kids and didn't find the strength to handle a career in addition. One day I was traveling with him and his sister on a trip. I had my AirPods in my ears, and my husband knows I always keep my AirPods blasting in my ears when I don't want to interfere in his conversation with someone. I also turned my face to the other side and closed my eyes. The music I was listening to finished playing, and I was about to play the next album when I heard his sister whisper if I was asleep. He responded that he didn't know and proceeded to call me. He called thrice and I didn't respond, but I heard him. Then he whispered back to his sister that I was gone and that when I jave those AirPods in my ears, I do not hear anything. Then they began talking. She asked how far with my career, and he said he had clipped my wings. He has made the career clear my eyes, and now I'm comfortable being a housewife, and they laughed. He said my kids are still young and they've become stressful to handle, so I'd have a problem balancing work and raising them, and by the time they're a little grown to be independent. I'd have been way behind in my career and going back would seem impossible, or he'd let us have our last baby during that time. Then he said he'd soon open a shop for me in front of our house so that I could use my degrees to sit in the shop and sell provisions, and they laughed. My heart was beating while listening and I almost blurted out, but I kept calm. What surprised me was the fact that he was pushing his sister to gain so much financial freedom by sponsoring her through school and career, but he wants me to be dormant. All this while, I thought he suggesting I take a break from work to relax was him thinking about me, but no, he was in his feelings and didn't want me to progress. I didn't react. That week, I went to my old workplace and asked if it was possible to come back. Luckily for me, my old boss was available and said I needed to write an aptitude test to prove I still had a grip on the job. I wrote the test and he sent it to the board of directors. I was called for an interview and later, I was asked to come back to my old position before resigning. I was given 2 weeks to prepare. I spoke to my mom and told her to keep the kids at her end after school and I'd come for them on my way home after work. Because I was a mom. My closing time was much earlier than everyone else. Then I spoke to my husband about it and told him I had been called to occupy my old position. I saw his face not lightening up and he started his emotional blackmailing of asking if it wasn't going to stress me because I knew what I heard. I said it wasn't and proceeded to tell him the plans I had made with my mum. Then he said he was making arrangements to open a provision shop for me. I told him not to bother because I was going back. So I started work. It was hard at first, but I was determined more than ever. I arranged a vehicle that picked up the kids from school to my mum's end and I picked them up after work. On Fridays, I leave them there and go for them. On Sundays I did some short courses and I was promoted within 2 years. I got a new car and I bought a piece of land and started building. Then I took a company scholarship to pursue my PhD. That was when the drama began. At that point, my husband couldn't pretend anymore and now he had to show who he truly was. He said no. He wasn't allowing me to have any PhD. I asked why, because it wasn't going to be paid with his money. He said it was too much for a lady. Then I questioned him about his sister who was also climbing the academic calendar. He reported me to my in-laws. His father asked him why he didn't marry an unemployed and uneducated woman when he knew he wanted a stay-at-home wife, and he said he wanted a smart wife to raise his kids. My father-in-law told me to go on with it since his problem isn't about financing it, he doesn't see the need to complain, so I started the course. When he saw he wasn't getting his way, he told me to remove the family planning I was on because he wanted us to have our last child. I told him I wasn't ready, so when I am, I'd take it off. This man raised hell and said he'd throw me out if I refused to have another child. My mother said I should take the family planning off and have the baby. I felt it was going to be too much. Working, being pregnant, and schooling. It's been 5 months and he hasn't said a word to me. He doesn't come home sometimes and wouldn't say where he's been. He treats me like I don't exist. No communication, no sex, no form of acknowledgement. I've doubled up my building project because I feel any moment from now, he can ask me to leave his home. About the course, I'm still on it. I've decided to seek a transfer to another region or any of our branches outside the country when I'm done with the PhD so I can get away from him for a while. I believe every woman should ask questions regarding their career when courting. Know your partner's stand on this issue before marriage.